Hello and welcome back to the Games Embassy with the Ambassadors of Gaming. I'm one in your army of hosts, Ambassador Billy.
And I'm Ambassador Michael.
And welcome to our corner of the internet where we have news about stuff. Mike, how are you doing today, buddy?
Doing pretty good. It's a pretty good day so far, I feel. I know it's like late as fuck for you. So how are you about to keel over and pass out, or you got like enough energy to last 10 more minutes?
Oh, dude, I'm barely hanging on. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm pretty. I developed a strong resilience to sleep when I was in university. That's lasted for 3 years. So,
as most of us do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So fair enough. Oh yeah, the Patreon. That's right. Money. We like money. Well, we like not being poor. Let me put it that way. Actually,
capitalism.
Just a little bit. So we have a Patreon page where we've been doing some really cool and new stuff. This month we are piloted out our first new podcast called Group Chat. We sat down and had a very lengthy discussion, Billy, myself, and Daryl. First time Daryl getting on the mic, very exciting, very good chat. It's 4 hours worth of content. Insane.
Juicy.
So we went over some of the games that we thought were really good, reviewed them, or talked about them, discussed them, and then based them on reviews. And that was the premise. So you can get some cool stuff like that if you want over at the Patreon for literally $1. I don't know if you know, but Patreon charges me $1 for literally anybody that signs up. So I basically get nothing. It's the point of the story. We basically get nothing, but you get you get cool stuff for $1.
Just for $1.
If not, and you want to freeload, you want to participate in the giveaways, you can get it this month. No, it's not October yet. I don't know what time of day it is. I don't know what country I live in. I don't know what's happening ever.
Lost.
I don't know where I exist anymore. Whatever. Anyways, if you want cool stuff, you can pay us extra money. If you don't, it's cool. You can get it later. If you share it, any of that crap, it would be really, really helpful. Because literally any interaction we get is super helpful. So that's my piece.
We still have love for you all either way.
Yes, either way. As long as you show me love, monetarily or literally.
We're Gucci. But yeah, so without further ado, I think let's get into some updates, announcements, and other miscellaneous news. So let's get started with some news that Discord is removing its free games library. Dum dum dum.
Cheapskates.
The catalog that was given to Nitro subscribers, their paid membership, is being removed because people were not using it. On their official blog, the company stated that the company will remove the Nitro Games catalog on October 15, 2019. And the company also said that it will refund those who are unhappy about the decision.
Interesting move. It's funny that nobody used it. That's what's funny to me. Here's literally free games. We don't want them. Basically, PlayStation Plus, Xbox Live Gold every month. This is shit. We don't want it. What is garbage?
They're just gonna shut it down now.
Every month.
Yeah.
Discord was like, all right, we've had enough of your crap. We're done.
Yeah. And we're putting this to sleep.
On the topic of PlayStation, actually, Sony has confirmed that the PS5 will take less energy than the PS4, which I don't know why that's a surprise, but here we go. Sony wrote an article today regarding lowering emissions and wanted to discuss how the next generation PlayStation will use even less power. Supposedly in suspend mode, it will only use roughly 0.5 watts, which is pretty low, but the PS4 already uses less energy than I think a standard light bulb, right? In rest mode?
Yeah, especially the PS4 Slim. I mean, with each iteration, they've actually improved the power consumption. The first model was obviously really kind of high on the power consumption. Then they kind of whittle it down. I think that's what they make it more eco-friendly with each revision. Sometimes it's like a new model altogether. Sometimes it's just a small revision. Like you have the C41001, C41002 model, stuff like that. Like small little revisions where they've just tweaked the PSU delivery a little bit. So I mean, it's just great. The less electricity our devices guzzle at home, the better, right?
And even if you're not eco-friendly, it means you're paying less. So either way you win.
It's a win-win situation for everyone, I think.
Right.
And speaking of win-win situations, that was the worst segue, by the way. Terminator Resistance, a first-person shooter, is out November 15th on Steam, PS4, and Xbox One. That's a release date announcement right there. Now, what's interesting about this is that it's developed by the same studio that made the
Rambo game, right?
game in 2014. And I don't know about you, Mike, but it wasn't really received all that greatly.
Oh, I've heard from Angry Joe how bad it is.
Oh yeah, like I just remember hearing it was on the radar, really poorly designed,
right,
first-person shooter, like based on the Rambo universe, and they've now got the IP for Terminator, and I suppose we need to wait until we see gameplays. I mean, I'm kind of in a position where I'm reserving judgment on it, but you know, it's you're as good as your last game, really.
Right. Unfortunately, all you have to base on is our previous experiences. So we'll see. Daryl is very interested in that, so I'm sure we'll have coverage of that. Honestly, but he was also kind of annoyed because he's like, "Why does it have to come out that day? That's when like Star Wars comes out and a whole bunch of like Death Stranding comes out like the week before that." He's like, "This is gonna be terrible."
This is gonna be chock full. Like everything's happening.
Daryl was displeased with a game that he actually wanted. Anyways, we can go into the big boy news. So take this next piece with a huge, gigantic, I cannot stress this enough, bigger than you find at the hippie store grain of salt.
Oh yeah.
All right. Sony may be launching the PS5 and the PS5 Pro simultaneously. Japanese journalist Zenji Nishikawa, according to WCCF Tech, stated that he had heard there would be two models of PlayStation 5. Nishikawa has previously predicted the Switch Lite coming in 2019 and also the PlayStation 4 in 2016. So he has some credibility. He's been correct. According to the translation, Nishikawa believes that Sony wants consumers to be able to purchase a more powerful console day one.
Very interesting. What's your opinion on Pro and base same day?
So I have like 2 or 3 points real quick. First of all, this can't I pulled the original story, or the source I pulled this from was Pushsquare. And then they pulled it from WCCF. And they were like, yeah, we're super skeptical about that. It doesn't really make any sense, especially because PS5 is supposed to be this like gigantic leap, even compared to the PS4 Pro. So like it makes no sense to be like, okay, here is this super powerful console and then this even more super powerful console. And it's, in my opinion, it's also the reason why Xbox ditched the 2 system idea it had. Like they realized the same thing. It's like, why would we cannibalize our own sales? Like, let's just sell one of these. Doesn't make any sense to me. Because like Apple can make it work. Samsung can make it work. But they're also releasing phones every year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think what they've done with like what Samsung and Apple have done is like they've gotten their consumers, their base, they've gotten them used to a specific release cycle. What I think with games consoles is that, I mean, sure, it's great. You have like a really powerful. A lot of people are just going to look at this is the more powerful system. I'm just going to grab that. It's great that it's available day one, but then like, I mean, if you think about like you got the Xbox One on launch day. And then the Xbox One S comes out with its 4K streaming capabilities, and then the Xbox One X comes out, like, and they had like a bit of time in between it. I don't know. It felt more like, I don't know. To me, that made it feel more like a worthwhile upgrade, like as if this is. It makes you the problem that I have with it, and I don't know if this is articulated well enough, but it's like if you were able to put out a base model and a pro model at the same time, what was stopping you from making something even more powerful than the pro model?
Yeah, like, basically. You know, or like why even bother with the lower end model?
Right. You make the lower end model and then you work on a more powerful system that you put out 3-4 years later. Right. That works out. But you're putting out a weaker model, for lack of better terms, and a more powerful model at the same time. So what was stopping you from going beyond that powerful model? Then you could have technically gone more powerful than that. Like, what was stopping you from making the base one even more powerful and having the pro even more powerful than that? Right. So it just raises too many questions. Personally,
it's an endless cycle, honestly. At that point, you know, my thing is that there's also there's a big difference between how Sony's approach pro models versus Xbox. Xbox completely rebranded themselves with the S and the X. That was the whole point, right? Like, the whole reason was like, all right, we're gonna get rid of the VCR Xbox One. It doesn't exist anymore. We don't want to talk about that anymore. This is who we are now.
Oh yeah.
Versus
Absolutely.
like, and they were like, okay, we heard you. Xbox One doesn't perform the way it is expected to, or it doesn't perform high enough in comparison to our competitor, right? Because that was that was what you always saw every game, especially with, you know, like Digital Foundry. Oh, it runs really great on PS4, but it only runs at like whatever 890 on Xbox.
It became like a meme almost, didn't it?
Of like the Xbox can't even hit 1080. Like that was the meme basically. So the Xbox One couldn't even hit 1080.
It's a weak ass system, you know, it just can't keep up with the games for the generation that's in, kind of thing. It's like it just became you make a good point. You make a good point. It was like the launch of Xbox One that was abysmal by all definitions.
Right.
And then they had to turn it around swiftly. So first came the S, that was the first reimagining, and then the X was like the full reimagining of the kind of Xbox One as a console, like being specifically tailored to the high-end gamer.
Exactly.
So it's there now. So whatever Xbox puts out, contrary to, you know, PlayStation, or wouldn't even say contrary, but parallel to PlayStation, they kind of focused on the power side of things a lot more. I mean, I'd be interesting. I'm not too keen on. I mean, I'd probably get the Pro version day one if that was the case, but I'm not too keen on base and Pro at the same time, just from the point of view, like what I explained, where, you know, I don't know, it just seems a bit half baked right out of the gate, kind of thing. It's like you could have done more, but you're kind of giving the impression that this is the peak, like you're leading the curve, whereas you're not. Like you can always wait a little longer and do more. Like you're not leading the curve because, you know, I don't know. It's just,
To be fair, the Pro and the X both came out at the same price point as the original models. Like the upgraded versions came out at the same price point as the original models. Like I know that you can make the comparison that no, Xbox One is technically $400. Technically, yes, but also they bundled it with the Kinect, so it was $500. When you could have, you know, when you waited and you got an X for $500 and it's like ridiculously more powerful, you know.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I watched it. I don't know if there's like a show in the US called Shark Tank. The UK version is called Dragon's Den, right?
Yes.
And people, the reason why I bring that up is because, like, you know, overpriced products, like that's not like an alien concept by any stretch. You know what I'm saying? Like Microsoft overprice their products, Sony can overprice their products, Apple obviously overprice their products, like everyone overprices their products. And then over time they kind of bring it down. And I think that's where the revisions of different models come in as well. Like you find a way to kind of drive the cost down by, you know, making things more efficient. You make them more energy efficient. You use different you know, equipment on the motherboard. You know, you find ways to cut costs without affecting performance as much, and that makes the overall cost go down. Like that's just how it goes, kind of thing. But out of the gate, like obviously Xbox One was very, very, very unfairly highly priced. But then again, so was a PS3 for its time as well. True.
Yeah, they both stumbled pretty hard, in my opinion.
On that same point of, you know, price point for the console. So I mean, it'll be interesting on the factor of the PlayStation base and PlayStation Pro coming out at the same time. If it does happen, I'd want to see if it does spell a success for Sony. But generally, like, I'd want to see if that does happen, do they then make a pro version of the pro version kind of thing, or do they just settle for the rest of the gen and say we've done our piece, we're just going to wait until the gen is out and then we'll just do another base and pro at the same time? It'll be interesting. I don't think Xbox is going to follow suit on that front. They're going to make a powerful system and then they're going to make an enhanced version of it, probably like 4 years down the line or something.
Yeah, and a slim version probably, just like they did with this one.
Exactly.
Probably not with the hastiness that they needed to. But the big difference between, in my opinion, the Pro. Do you have a PS4 Pro?
Yeah, nice, a nice glacier white one.
Oh, interesting. I also have the same one. So does Chris. That's really funny. So I got my Pro, and this is just my opinion and based off of my experiences. I've had worse experiences with my Pro than I had with my base PS4. I had an OG PS4. And ever since I got it, I run into consistent issues, problems. In my opinion, it feels half-baked, the Pro, especially in comparison to my X. Like, it definitely feels like, oh, this is something we could do. We've heard Microsoft is doing it. Let's just kind of test it out and see how it goes. Versus Xbox set out with the mission of, no, we're going to build a new console, basically, that runs the same games. Like,
yeah. I mean, the X was engineered to perfection.
Right, exactly. It's very clear
things like the fan speed and the cooling and stuff. You know, you're playing a max resolution game. You know, high settings, all that stuff on Xbox One X, and it's barely even kind of whistling. You know, it's just kind of humming along nicely. You know, low level, not generating a lot of heat. Like, you could tell it's been engineered to perfection. It was engineered, and the whole thing about the what was it, the system on a chip or something?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that they were talking about when they were making the X.
Right.
But like, you know, you just had the impression that this is a piece of engineering that's been given a lot of thought, and it's not just like, oh, let's just rush something to market. We're not just rushing something to market just so that we can be the power leaders. It was like Microsoft / Xbox being committed to, you know, delivering a great product for consumers.
I guess I have one last point, and again, it comes back to the whole, like, if Sony's going to do this, which doesn't make any sense, there's no reason to. I think we've pretty much beat that point home at this, you know, at this time. Like, it just makes no sense to launch with both. They've seen it work with PS4 and PS4 Pro. Might as well just wait and actually plan it out this time. Actually, like, you know, do what Xbox did, and, you know, have a pretty good strategy there. But like, even now, like, if I look at my Xbox One X comparative to my PlayStation 4, again, like, they did with Xbox One X what PlayStation did with PS4, where they're like, this is what we're doing. It has to fit here. It has to do this. It has to have this. It has to have this. And they made it work. Like, it's ridiculous how small that thing is. Like, I know most people like have seen it, but it really is just incredibly small. And it's way more powerful than my PS4 Pro. Like, it's insane how much of a difference in size. But anyways, that's pretty much all I have to say on it. I think we pretty much beat the bush, beat enough through the bush, around the bush. We beat the bush.
On the bush, within the bush.
Yes. The bush is dead, basically. So
it's just a pile of sticks on the floor right now.
But I put it in here more to have an interest. I thought it would just be an interesting conversation I have, more so than like, this is probably a thing, because I don't think either of us really believe that. It's an interesting
speculation point, and I'm very eager to see. I mean, you and I are both very eager to see how it pans out.
Of course. Yeah. And PlayStation's been super cagey with PS5, so it's just fun to talk about next gen whenever we can.
It's fun. It's always so much fun, dude. Like, I love it. But anyway, I mean, in other Sony news, and the topic of Sony, there is a new state of play coming. Whoop whoop.
Right.
By the time this episode that we're listening to, goodness, we're the ones that are presenting it. By the time this episode that you're listening to is out, the state of play will already have taken place. However, the WB Montreal account has been teasing a new announcement, the same one they put out on Batman Day. It's possible we will see the next Batman game at state of play. So it's a possibility. It's a rumor. It's a possibility. Right. And they've been teasing a few things. You know, I love the Batman games. I know you did as well, right?
Yes. I think I said, I don't know if I said it on here recently, but I did recently play through Asylum when I got Game Pass. That's still probably one of the best action adventure games of this decade, like, or in recent times. Like, it might be one of the best, period. End of story, you know?
Yeah, it was such a good game.
It's phenomenal.
Really, yeah. So well made. The story's well crafted. Characters are well done. The voice acting is on point. Level design, everything is just you feel like you're in a comic book universe. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's very tight. I think, in my opinion, it was the first really tight experience that we got before we got like Uncharted 2 or The Last of Us or something. You know, something like that. That's like this high accolade kind of game where it was like very, very tight. Of like, yeah, you can't really go and do, you can go and do these different things, but really, like, we're just guiding you through this world we've built and the story we're telling you. But anyways, I'm very excited.
In a good way, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't feel that way. That's what made it good.
Exactly,
Is that it, because it's been, I don't know, years. I think I played it around release. the last time I played Asylum, and it still holds up very well. And it was a really nice treat to go back and play it. But anyways, I say this all the time. I think you and I have had this discussion. WB Montreal made the one Arkham game that nobody wants to talk about, even WB. Like it didn't get ported. It's not in the remasters. It's not available through backwards compatibility. They basically never acknowledge it. It's Origins, right? I think is the name of it.
Yeah, and it hurts my heart. Honestly, I loved Origins so much.
That's what I hear. That's the general consensus, is that it's really, really good. And I enjoyed what I played of it. But I think we've had this discussion. I think we had this discussion before when we talked about when we did the group chat of like, I had this bug where it auto-saved mid-air and I clipped a building or something like that with the wing, and something about the wing clipping the building completely disabled the physical attributes of everything on the map. So there was just nowhere to land. And I was just stuck in an infinite save loop of dropping in through the map. So I would respawn and drop all the way through the map until I died. And then I would respawn and go all the way. And I was like, no, I'm not starting this whole game over again.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I think though is like, Arkham Origins came out at a time where Rocksteady were working on Arkham Knight, and like they could, like Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, they were obviously, you know, they were kind of indisposed, like they were busy, you know, doing their voice acting duties for that game, which turned out fantastic. But I think like people, I don't know, man. Troy Baker killed it as the Joker, in my opinion, and he really did honor like Mark Hamill's take of the character, but he gave it his own flair as well. And Roger Craig Smith, fantastic Batman.
Yeah, I thought the performances were overall pretty good. That's why I'm interested to see what they do. What else did they make? Have they made anything since then?
WB Montreal. No,
I don't think so.
Not that I'm aware of. That was their kind of main kind of big game that got a lot of attention. Yeah,
because they didn't work on any of the Lord of the Ring games, right?
No, I think they probably had like a sweeping kind of
like a support role or something.
Yeah, support role in development, maybe like a bit of consultancy on level design or something like that, but not a full on like Monolith did the the Middle Earth game.
So the last thing they did was the Batgirl story, or the Batgirl DLC, which was a fucking amazing for Arkham Knight. I think we discussed this at one point.
Yeah,
like I said, I'm pretty sure we discussed Batman, like Arkham, during that group chat. That's why I'm like,
the entire franchise just kind of, I think we were all collectively swooning and gushing over how much we enjoyed those games.
Yeah, they're great. So first of all, anyways, they actually updated the Wikipedia page for Montreal for potential Batman Arkham game 2020, which is very interesting. Anyways. Yeah, so it's possible they come out with a new Arkham game. I hope they do, because the last one ended in a really weird way. It's really good. It's not, I don't think I think Knight is probably the worst one, if I have to be honest, but being the worst of a series of really great games is not a bad thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, but I wasn't even going to put this in here. I was literally just going to put it in the updates of like, there's a state of play tomorrow, because like nobody really gives a shit, because their state of plays have kind of sucked. Yeah, so
literally state of okays.
Yeah, I tweeted earlier, I was like, oh, this would be really cool if it was in the state of okay. And I was like, I didn't mean to, like, it auto-corrected me, and I was like, you know what, that's probably more accurate. State of okay is basically what these have been. It's okay.
Not so much play, more okay.
It's okay. It's all right. It ain't nothing great. But if they get that Batman announcement, be a big win. Be a big win. That's all I'm saying. They need a W right now on the state of play.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a good one. So, anyways, I'm going to move on to our favorite new thing to discuss. There are two things we love here at Ambassadors of Gaming. We love plugging our shows, other shows, and content. We love plugging Patreon. And we love talking about the way that game companies try to take money from us. So, let's do that. Apple Arcade has arrived, and Google Play Pass is coming soon. More ways for you to spend your hard-earned cash.
Love it.
Apple has officially released its game subscription service, not streaming related. It has been getting some praise, however, in the games industry, circling around as removing all the, quote, bullshit, end quote, that comes in mobile games, and just putting the player into the game. So, here's a game. No bullshit. No timers. There's no microtransactions. There's none of this. It's just a game. Imagine that. You just pay for a game and
just
you
a
play
pure
it.
beginning to end game.
Wow. Crazy.
What a world. What a world are we living in now?
Right. And Google, not to be overshadowed, has also announced its own mobile game subscription. Because of course, why would you not? Much like Apple Arcade, you can download and play these games through the subscription with no ads and no microtransactions, period, end of story. There is nothing to buy in these games. You cannot buy anything, not a zip, zero zilch, right?
Love it.
So the subscription actually launches this week in the US, and it will additionally, it will come to additional countries, in quotes, soon. You know how that is. Soon is a very vague word.
Yeah, soon could be this year. Soon could be next 10 years.
Soon is very relative.
Soon could even be never. Because never is technically soon as well.
That is true. Well, like when we say the planet is dying soon, we don't mean like soon in the next 10 minutes. We mean like soon in the next hundreds of years, maybe 75.
We're talking millennia here, mate.
Yeah, soon is relative to the age of good old Mama Earth. All right.
Right.
Don't be besmirching her age. All right. Anyways, the subscription will be $4.99 US dollars a month. However, the company is running a deal for $1.99 a month for the first 12 months for a limited time. So $2 a month is not bad at all. And I don't know if this works in the same way in the UK, but with like a lot of the stuff, especially with Google, you could just charge it to your phone bill. So it just pops up as an extra $5 a month on your phone bill, and most people aren't even going to notice.
Yeah, you can, because they've opened up a lot of options here where you can like pay a lot of things through just mobile numbers instead of having like if your mobile number is linked to your bank account or linked to a specific kind of payment account or any kind of payment setup, like that kind of stuff. So I've literally seen situations where it's like pay with mobile bill and stuff like that. So
that's good.
Yeah.
I like all that personally.
Yeah, so being able to just add it on as like a stipend to your monthly kind of mobile phone bill, and pretty decent.
Here's my thing. I'm okay with these. My problem. Hey, all right. And I didn't even come up with it. Here's the thing. I gotta think about all the bullshit that they're gonna try to put me through, because I already know that there's somebody somewhere is already thinking about this, right? Yeah. Some asshole at Activision is gonna be like, what we could do? We could just do this for all the people that bitch about our microtransactions, and we could still sell the games as normal, but with microtransactions. Some asshole at Activision sitting there at the table being like, hey, we could just do this, and then people won't bitch, and we'll still make way more money.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know. I made this video a long time ago. I don't know if you've seen it because it's old now. It's probably like 2 years old. I made the case that it would, in my opinion, behoove Activision to just divide Call of Duty literally in 3 and make it a live service and be like, okay, here's the Call of Duty app. Here's Call of Duty multiplayer. Here's Call of Duty campaign. And here's Call of Duty zombies. And just make it like Fortnite and like all these live services and be like, okay, once a year, it's whatever, $60 or $100, $100 for all 3, right? Let's just say that, right? Hypothetically.
Yeah.
Because you're already paying $110 if you buy the game, the season pass, blah, 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 right? So let's just say $100. So let's make it flat. And you get everything for the year, right? That includes updates, includes new guns, blah, 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 blah.
All the bits and bobs, yeah.
And previous years. It gives you previous years as well. So it's expensive, but you get previous years. Blah, blah, blah. So you can already put in there, okay, I want to play World at War, or I want to play World War II, or I want to play Advanced Warfare. You know what I mean? In terms of campaign or multiplayer or zombies. You know what I mean?
So you can kind of swap out the Call of Duty game that you want to play.
More or less.
I see what you mean now. So it's kind of like have it
Treyarch is the best at zombies, right? Or in most of our opinions. Why not just have Treyarch make zombies every year? We know people love Infinity Ward's multiplayer. Let's just have them do multiplayer most of the year, and let Sledgehammer handle the campaigns. You know what I mean? Like, and then just every year you're just churning out this stuff. Like, I know it would be smaller, like in scale, so they'd be able to do it better, in my opinion.
But development costs will be less, and therefore each component will cost less as well.
That's my point.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So my whole idea was like, just annualize Call of Duty like you would a fucking, sports game, and just like, and then just piecemeal it. Be like, okay, whatever, the campaign's $30, multiplayer this year is $30, $40, whatever, like, and people will pay it, and they'll not feel ripped off every year, and then just get rid of the microtransactions, and because you'll be making more money, like,
Exactly. I mean, subscription services are king. Like having a subscription. I mean, this is a lot of companies, a lot of big corporations, like bread and butter, is holding consumers through subscriptions. You guarantee a kind of return viewing of your services. You introduce a new system and you introduce a new element. Your customers will already be coming back, so you're kind of securing that base. I mean, you can apply that to any subscription that you have right now. Like you go back onto their kind of dashboard and you see a new item, like let's say Netflix, you see a new movie on there. You might not watch it, but it's you're seeing it, kind of thing. So it's like the loop of, because you have a subscription for the service, you keep coming back to it. So
I don't know if you guys do you guys have ads for applications and stuff in the UK? I assume you do.
What you mean, like
just like phone
mobile
apps and stuff? Yeah,
of course.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys have these yet, but there's like subscriptions are very popular, and they're so popular, and people use them so much that they literally forget about them, and so people have to download separate apps to keep track of the things they're paying for, because it's the theory of like death by a thousand cuts, right? You're like, oh, I'm paying this, I'm buying this, I'm buying this. Like, what? I've almost done that. Like I've had to like, keep track of like what I'm paying for. Like I forget that I have to pay SoundCloud every month for ambassadors. Like, but it's $16,
exactly.
So I don't think anything of it. You know what? It's $16. Who gives a shit? It
just kind of goes out on its own time.
Right. And you just don't think about that kind of stuff. So like, these are popular for a reason. It's cheap, it's effective, and ultimately, like, we know for a fact it works. Like Netflix is they got to be $1 billion company by now, right?
Easy.
So, but the problem is they don't have any other backbone. Amazon has backbone. That's why if Amazon Video just starts hemorrhaging money, whatever, they don't give a shit. They still got everything else. Same thing with
Netflix isn't really scalable beyond. I mean, what's it doing?
Right.
TVs, movie shows, and that's it.
Right. They're
like, it doesn't really scale.
Probably going to get bought out at some point, I assume, at this point, especially after Disney Plus drops. Like, that's going to be a huge hit to them.
Yeah, they've tried the little foray into like interactive experiences, which they want to call like a gaming side of things, but it's not great. It's not great. I mean, it's not. This is the thing. For a business to create a successful thing, it needs to not be novel. The novelty wears off. If it's novel, that will wear off, and then it's just back to irrelevance again. So, I mean,
they're gonna get gobbled up.
Because Netflix have kind of corralled themselves into a corner where they've not let themselves become scalable. I mean, they were great. They were great when they were leading. Yeah, they were great when they were leading the market. You know, now with all these other services coming, I mean, Disney, they've timed this their subscription service to perfection. I mean, they are so well poised to take over the market. It's actually ridiculous.
It is, because they've been smart.
Exactly. If there's ever a time to invest in Disney, now's that time.
Oh yeah, it's gonna skyrocket, I'm sure. Because for example, the thing with Netflix is like, let's put it this way, right? Netflix has great IP. Why do you not get the IP into the hands of other people who could use it, especially for like they signed stupid deals. Like the Adam Sandler deals were really terrible. I don't know why they signed those. That was a terrible idea. But on the other hand, they made the great deal with Dave Chappelle, where they got like 3 or 4 specials from him, and they've all been insanely popular, regardless of how you feel about them, Oh, yeah. So, but like, why not approach like Disney has with games and be like, all right, look, we're not good at games. Let's just go find somebody who can make our IP good, and just like be like, here you go, just whatever. We'll just take a chunk of this, like Marvel did with Spider-Man. Like Disney has no interest in making games, but they'll just let somebody use their IP, because they're like,
exactly.
people want this.
So Netflix come up with an IP and then give it to a studio to work on a game.
Well, they have. Look at Black Mirror. Black Mirror would work great in the hands of Supermassive. Just give it to Supermassive. You know,
there we go.
Like you could give Stranger Things to somebody like Kojima or like not Insomniac. Fuck, who's the people that do The Last of Us? Like Naughty Dog. I'm having a giant brain fart, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, you know, like Stranger Things is a great IP that could be put into the hands of, like, imagine it, you know, I'm imagining if you gave, like you saw what Kojima was trying to do with Silent Hills. Imagine if you gave him Stranger Things. That's a weird IP. It's a strange ass IP. It would fit perfectly with his super weird ass, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
So that's just the kind of stuff where I'm like, they clearly don't care about making these deals. But anyways, back to the subscription stuff is that like, we got off on a tangent, but to be fair, it was a good discussion, so I don't feel bad about it. But subscriptions are a successful model. They clearly work, and they're also very, very scalable. Like Disney's done this for years, right? They have. You guys have Disney Paris, right? In the US and the EU. That's the closest one. So like, I live in Orlando. I live next to Disney World, right? Disney World gets more expensive literally every year. You know why? Because Disney knows you'll pay for it. The same thing is going to happen with Disney Plus. If you don't think that's going to happen with Disney Plus, you're crazy. Because every year they're going to be like, oh, it's $14 now. Now it's $15. Now it's $16. Now it's $17. And it's just going to go up and go up and go up and go up. And they're going to be like, what are you going to do about it? Where are you going to go to get our Disney stuff? You going to pirate it? It's going to look like crap. You know?
Right. Like, and it's just generally the laws of inflation as well, isn't it? It's like,
well, that's true too.
What is you know, $6 now in 10 years time? I mean, in terms of the value of the money, like the $15 or however much it's going to cost in 10 years, that's still worth $6 from 2019/2020. But it's just inflation, isn't it? But from us on a year-to-year, month-to-month basis, it seems like it's got more expensive because obviously we have our expenses and shit like that. So
I mean, wages and all that too. We could make arguments about all sorts of economical stuff too. But
of course, but as long as the subscription provides value, which I think Disney Plus will, which I think a lot of these other services that we discussed here, which they will in their specific areas and their niches. If they can stay competitive in terms of prices, then they're onto a winning formula.
Last thing I'll say about Netflix is that like people always bitch, right? Hold on, I'm sorry. I want to look up Netflix's subscriber count. But they everybody always bitches about Netflix, right? It's always the same thing. Oh, it's so expensive. It's so expensive. It's getting more expensive. It's getting more expensive. Right? All right, look, don't get me wrong. I'm looking at stats right now from Netflix from quarter 3 2011 to quarter 2 2019. That's about where we're at right now. Right? They started with 21.5 million. I think this is what I'm looking at. And now they're at 151.56 million, right? So that's what, you know, a lot of growth. I don't know if y'all understand how big a million is. Like, I know we say this all the time, but like, we don't think of millions and billions as much as they really are because we've just become so desensitized to how large that number actually is. You know, imagine if you had 1 million puppies. That's 1,000 puppies. That's a lot of fucking puppies. Like,
yeah, that's like take 1,000 puppies and then multiply that by 1,000 and then you have 1 million.
Right. And it's absurd. So anyways, my point is that like their slowest growth is now from Q1 to Q2 2019. But they still, guess how many subscribers growth they had? 3 million. They still had 3 million new people sign up for Netflix.
That's like a whole city's population.
Pretty much. So like, my point is that even with the slower growth, like even with people complaining, oh, it's too expensive, I'm like, where are you going to go? Cable? Cable's like I don't know how it is in the UK, but like in the US, it's easily 150, 200 a month for cable. And it's not nearly as good as Netflix for 15, you know, maybe 100 if you include your internet costs, you know, but you could do way more with the internet than you can with cable. So,
right.
It's a very strange thing. But I think we beat the subscription thing to death. I just wanted to have an open conversation because we've discussed subscriptions, but I think this opens the door to companies that are like, all right, look, EA and Activision, really, they're the two big ones with loot boxes, right? Like, the hammer's coming down one way or another on these. Like, their cash cows are going to run out one way or another. Like, this isn't going to last forever.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion, the pressure is getting too big. It's about to be an election year in the U.S. There's going to be a lot of pressure on people for that, you know. So, anyways, my point is that like subscriptions are death by 1,000 cuts. Not a lot of people even notice it. I don't even notice when Game Pass comes out every month. You know, blah 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 blah. So we'll see how this devolves. But I really think you probably will see, you know, subscription by publisher. And honestly, if I could afford every publisher subscription for less than $60 a month, I'd probably do it.
If that secures like a game from each of your favorite publishers, then absolutely.
Even if I get one game a month that I care about, I'm only paying $60 and I have access to all of the other publishers. That's a huge win in my book, you know?
Exactly.
So we'll see how this devolves, but I think ultimately it ends up being best for both them and us.
Yeah. So. But anywho, moving on to a little bit of different news here. Valve must now allow new users to resell Steam games in France. The court did not find that Valve's defense that Steam is a subscription service compelling enough to exclude it from other retail policies. The UFC Quai Chasseur sued Valve for many issues, but the biggest being Steam not allowing students to resell games.
Oh, I don't know why I autocorrected students. I meant to put consumers. Anyways, continue.
Right. So Valve has appealed to the court to change its ruling, and the ruling could affect many people that live within the EU.
I like what y'all doing over there. Just FYI.
I mean, that's pretty huge.
Yeah.
For as long as I can remember, reselling has not been a thing on Steam. So I mean, there's been like you know, like how do I say it? A marketplace, but that's more for like trading cards and stuff, which then give you wallet kind of, you can sell on the marketplace for like wallet credit and shit like that. So other than that, like reselling games is a completely new frontier for Steam. Yeah, I mean, EU, man. I mean, it's a shame we're about to leave the EU.
Right.
That would make it interesting in the UK. I mean, who knows? Who knows? It could start spanning wider, but then again, it depends on the laws of the land, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the laws in the UK are different to the laws in, you know, the main EU states, and then the laws in the United States are completely different to everywhere else. So I suppose it all depends. That's
see. Yeah, I agree. It's huge. That's a big reason why I wanted to put it in here, is because we've had this conversation repeatedly over digital rights, and the issue is that they don't feel, publishers specifically, I think, don't feel that the value of their product decreases over time, right? Basically, the digital version. There's no degradation to the digital version of the game, where there's a possibility that the physical version could get scratched, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you need to fix it. Maybe you need to do a little of this. Maybe you need to get a new disc, something like that. But discs are glorified keys now anyways. So, like, it's not, you know, it doesn't even really do anything. You're not playing the game off of it.
With the I mean, I wouldn't say advent. I mean, it's been around for a while, but with the continued growth of DRM, like CDs have become literally obsolete. I mean, I was doing some research on it, and you know, some studying and good old stuff like that. You know, we went from, you know, floppy to the compact disc, and then we went from compact to Blu-ray, and now we got, you know, 4K HDR streaming. You know, if your bandwidth is high enough, which in many cases it can be, you know, you're able to actually stream.
If you're in a metropolitan area, yeah.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the goal is to have that kind of spread far and wide, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy with DRM and these studios and publishers and you know, these corporate entities becoming really smart with how they license out their products. I mean, it's getting a bit cray-cray, but yeah, CDs are getting a bit obsolete. So I think there needs to be provision in general. I know it sounds a little bit like, oh, I just want everything for myself kind of thing. But I do think, because if you think about it, the great thing about the physical market is that you could have bought a game, played it. You know what? I'm not really quite finding this fun. You could pop to, GameStop, or in the UK, there's, computer exchange
Right.
shop and, all these other places. And you could, sell that product back and get some money back for it, or trade it in for another product. I think having a provision for that in a digital system or digital transactional kind of system, I think that's important. Like, you want to preserve as much of what people loved about the physical aspect in the digital. Especially if you want people to start adopting digital more, you have to create that streamline. You have to make it as frictionless as possible. Otherwise, people are always going to say, you know what, why should I go digital when I'm unable to sell the games that I don't no longer play? Even if you don't get full value, like even if it's just store credit, at least you are then able to put that money to other games. You know what I'm saying?
That's
it's
true.
Like,
that'd be a good way to work around it, because the concern, I think, from publishers, not that I think they have a leg to stand on personally, but their argument is, oh, this will hurt our sales, basically, because whatever, Johnny's gonna go buy whatever, I don't know, let's just say Death Stranding, right? Johnny goes and buys Death Stranding for $60, right? Then he goes and his friend gives him 30 on the side, right? But he sells it to him on PlayStation for whatever, $15, something like that. You know what I mean? So that's the argument they use, is that like you're gonna try to sell it outside of the provisions of whatever system they try to set up. And I'm like, honestly, that's gonna happen regardless. It's already happening. Like CD keys is a thing. You know what I mean? Like all these things are already a thing. So
people mass purchase keys and they sell them for cheap, but at enough quantity to make a profit for them. It's just I mean, it's already, this kind of stuff is already like, it's just hit the nail on the head. It's already happening. You know, I think console manufacturers, game publishers, they should just become more savvy with this and realize, you know what, we need to actually provide official provision for this kind of stuff. It's kind of like game sharing. It's like game sharing with people around the world, right? The idea for game sharing wasn't to game share with someone, 10,000 miles across the world. It was the idea that you could game share with a family member in your house. Yet people are able to use it to game share with people around the world. And everyone does it. Like, majority of people do it.
Well, with Xbox, I was talking with a buddy of ours, Justin, and apparently PlayStation changed it. You have to be on the same IP network now, or same network now, or something like that.
Yeah, so it's region locked. Yeah. Game sharing is region locked on PlayStation, to the point that if I'm not in the United States, I can't game share with anyone in the United States.
I've heard it's even as down to network, because like I'm still trying. Chris and I had game shared for a long time on PlayStation, and he no longer can access it.
Yeah, if that is the case, I do think that's quite draconian of Sony if they do that. Right. I mean, like they should, because the thing is, I love to kind of jest and make the argument that Microsoft have got the money to allow like gamers from different parts of the world to just share their games and stuff. But in all truth, like, no company will want to just
let you do that.
Let you do that. But they put the provision there. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're not going to ban like 10 million users on their database just because they're game sharing with someone, kind of thing. Like, they can't do that. It's kind of like when people are doing stuff like that en masse, it sets a precedence from the consumer point of view. I think consumers should demand some new flavors in the whole digital landscape, but otherwise it's just going to become more and more stale as time goes on.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, I can't believe at some point we exist in a time frame where we still go buy discs. We've already seen, like, even with Switch, like, there's games now that just come with codes. Like, you go and you just buy the box and it just has a code in it. Like, Overwatch is going to just be a code
to just make the cartridge with it.
Yeah, well, it's going to cost them more money to make the cartridge, so why bother? It's a digital only game. You can only play it online anyways.
Cost cutting, right?
Yeah, but it's Activision. That's they don't become a billion-dollar company by not cutting every cost possible. Yep, that's my thing is, like, I don't have a problem with it, but like, it's one of those things where it's like you're not the people that really want to do things are really just going to do them. Like that's been the argument for the longest time. That's why like we covered this a bit last week with piracy specifically. The in the UK, Nintendo's been cracking down on piracy a lot. I don't know if you've seen this, but they've been cracking down on piracy like an absurd amount. And they had a court case against one of the biggest some of the biggest emulators in the UK. And basically the UK agreed with them and that they were infringing on their trademark, and basically we're like, you guys have to shut all this stuff down. Like on the Nintendo side, you have to pull all the Nintendo games. So I mean, and don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily disagree. I think Nintendo specifically is kind of a dick about it because like there's certain games that are just like not playable anymore.
Nintendo have had a bad track record with some of their policies towards especially YouTubers, and YouTubers as well.
Right.
They've not. I mean, I was watching a Angry Joe video some time ago where he was like he wasn't being a dick towards Nintendo, but his video would just keep getting copyright strikes, which then it's a source of income. It's like a bread and butter for a YouTuber. So
they were really bad with that. All that they reversed on it finally. But they only reversed on it once the Switch became so popular and everybody was giving them free coverage. And then everybody's like, why the fuck are you flagging us all the time? Like, the same thing happened to us. That's why we stopped talking about Nintendo games. We didn't talk about Nintendo games for like 3 years because they struck us. Like, they just gave us a strike. Because Chris and I streamed ARMS when ARMS came out. It was the last time we did anything Nintendo related, like on the channel. Because they struck us and I was like, no, fuck you then. I'm not going to talk about your games then. I'm not going to show them. I'm not going to play them. Nothing. You get nothing from if that's how you want to be. Like, that makes no sense to me. And so, like, we didn't talk about anything Nintendo related after that because they just kept striking our stuff. So, I don't blame people for being upset. But, yeah, we need, with the digital age, I think we'll see it eventually. But I don't know, man. Like, I just built my computer and I didn't even think to buy a disk drive for it. Like, that thought never crossed my mind. You know what I mean? Like, I built it and I had discs for like certain things. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Whatever. I'll just download the drivers. I don't give a shit. You know, like we don't exist in a time anymore where like it's really necessary. That's why like when Mac first removed the CD drive, everybody was mad. And like, I've never once felt the need to use my CD drive in my MacBook. Oh, yeah. Like, so, we're moving past that. I know that we also exist in the age of like everything as a license that we could revoke it whenever the fuck we want. So that's scary.
Even my Office Home and Student 2013, even that, if I check on my like account subscriptions, even though it's literally Home and Student 2013, it's like a one-time lifetime thing. It expires 1st of December 9,990.
Oh, at least yours lasts longer than mine. I checked mine the other day for Mac. Mine only lasts to 2099. Kind of bullshit is this?
Right. I mean,
my license expires in 2099. I mean, I'm going to be dead by then probably, but
imagine if you aren't, dude.
But yeah, imagine if I'm not. I'm going to be pissed.
Pissed AF.
So, like, I bought this like almost 100 years ago. What the fuck? Now, granted, Microsoft, we might be in a pile of ash by then. But if we're not, I would like to use Microsoft. And hopefully it's not a piece of crap. Microsoft Office, that is. Anyways, I think we could go on and on and on about digital rights, but I think we hit the main important points for now. So we can move on to the last story here. So the Switch Lite actually cannot output video at all. It's not possible. So YouTuber Jonathan Downey has looked into the hardware, and there literally is nothing there to output video. There's nothing to interpret it, nothing to output it. It just doesn't exist. The hardware is not inside of the Switch. They didn't try to pull a fast one on you. There's nothing there. So
it's a pure handheld system.
Yes, it is 100% handheld. 100% a solid handheld. So there's no actual hardware inside of it that can output video, period, end of story. The only thing about that sucks is that it makes the Switch Lite impossible to use to record footage. That's the only thing about it that sucks, in my opinion.
Yeah, because it's not outputting video to anything.
Yeah, at least like literally any other device you can do that with. Like you can do that with a Vita. You could do that with a 3DS. You can do that with an iPhone. Like there's ways around it. You know what I mean? I'm sure somebody somewhere will figure out a way around it. But like Nintendo specifically went out of their way to make sure that there's no way to output video.
Which leads to the speculation, like, is it marketed as a really, really niche for kids who don't really care, who absolutely don't care about that shit?
For it yet?
That's what I'm saying. Like, who are they
That's-
marketing it for? Because if they're marketing it towards adults who, you know, will kind of hop in front of the TV screen at the end of the day to kind of chill and play some games, like, they're not going to be like laying on the sofa with this Switch, looking at this, you know, the screen of the Switch all day. They're going to dock that shit, and they're going to, you know, they're going to dock that shit, and they're going to, you know,
that's what I'm saying.
Want to play on the big screen, which is what I do with my current Switch. So it's one of those, like, who are they marketing it for?
Well,
like, if they're not going to have any video throughput, and they're showing adverts where adults are using it, there's a really weird mixed message going on there.
Right. Well, go ahead, and I sent you the site. So just go ahead and look through the Switch Lite and just watch that ad real quick and just kind of go through the images while I say my piece here. But like, it's pretty extensively designed or marketing to people who don't play at home and people that are on the go, specifically like college students and kids. Basically, kids to college students is really who they're marketing this to. It's a little bit smaller than the standard Switch, but honestly, it's really fucking gorgeous. Like every time I see one, I'm like, ooh, I want one, but I know I really, really just absolutely don't need it at all.
That's literally where I'm at. Like I look at the Switch Lite, I'm like, dude,
I want it.
Yeah, especially I see some of these like really nice colors as well.
They're so pretty. Honestly, they're really, really, they did a really good job designing them. I'm kind of annoyed that we're not getting Joy-Cons for the Pokemon Sword and Shield, and that they opted to, like, I would buy those Joy-Cons, like with the blue buttons and the pink buttons left and right. Those are pretty sweet. But anyways, so the Switch Lite, in my opinion, is very clearly marketed to children. I was looking at the price, and we bitched a lot about the Switch Lite when it first came out with the price point. Because let's break down the Switch, right, in general. So the Switch itself exists, right? It comes with a dock, it comes with a charger, and it comes with Joy-Con, detachable Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
So $300 for all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get the Joy-Cons, which are what, 80 at this point, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
70 or 80. I think they're 80, and the Pro is 70. So they're $80.
That sounds about right, yeah.
So that brings you down. Let's cut for the sake of profiting, right? Let's just say that it's inflated, I don't know, by $20. So let's say $60. I feel like that's probably reasonable. I doubt that it's $75. It costs them $75 to make, you know? So take off $60 from 300. That puts you at what? 240? Remove the dock. That probably costs you like $20, right? Because it's just a chip and a fucking piece of plastic, right?
Yeah.
Like, so let's just say $20, right? So that puts you at 220. So it theoretically, the screen of the Switch and maybe the little plastic piece it comes with probably cost them like $5, maybe, right? So like the Switch itself is like 200, like just the screen, right?
Just straight up, just screen.
Right. But even then, you can put it on the TV. So, like, I don't know. I still feel like the Switch has more value than the Lite. Like, if the Switch was if the Switch Lite was even like $175, I'd be like, that's a good price. That's okay. But 200 is too much.
Yeah, because it's kind of entering the current Switch's territory, which is already feeling like it's more bang for the buck.
Right. Well, my issue is it's new, and the Switch has already, like, it doesn't really get deals, but sometimes it does. And that brings it to like 280, 260. You know what I mean? Somewhere in there. And like, how are you going to justify buying a Switch Lite for 200 when you could buy a Switch for like 280, 260?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's the price of one game at that point, basically, you know? You might as well just get the full experience. However, again, I don't think this is for us. I think it's for kids. Because like I would buy this for my kid. I wouldn't buy my kid a full on Switch. That was the first thing I said when I saw the Switch. I was like, I would never buy this for a kid.
I'd get my kid the Switch Lite, and I'd get like a really nice protective kind of case for it as well.
Right.
I was getting everything. Like that's the kind of situation that I'd imagine kind of getting the Switch Lite in. But for like me, for my gaming needs, the current Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation, anything that does like video throughput, or video output, sorry, not throughput, that's got my attention all the time.
Yeah, I just keep going through it, and it really doesn't look like it's even being marketed for us. And like I said, I think that's probably smart. I just still think it's too expensive. But whatever. I mean, honestly, it's cheap. How much was the 3DS when it came out? Like $250?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was expensive. So like it's cheaper than a 3DS. So I guess we could say that,
Exactly.
But anyways, the point of the story is that Nintendo wasn't trying to pull a fast one on y'all. They really just don't have it in there again, but that raises questions about the pricing of the hardware itself.
Why is it so steep considering what it's actually able to do?
My assumption is because the big thing is that unibody design. It's not like they got to just slap the screen in. You know what I mean?
And I do genuinely think that they worked on they kind of refined a few components of the actual Switch as well. I feel like I
think it has there's a new model with a battery, right? And this one has like an upgraded battery as well, I think. Something like that.
Yeah. And the D-pad is new. The joysticks, the left stick and right stick are refreshed as well.
Yeah, it looks different.
I feel like the Switch as we have it right now in our homes, like docked up, like they're not really, I mean, correct me if you feel any different about this, but like I feel like the Joy-Cons weren't really designed for like consistent full-on play. Like no. I keep it docked and I just use my Pro controller.
Right.
I'll really use my Joy-Cons. The only time I use my Joy-Cons is when playing Pokemon, and that's it.
Well, you kind of have to. You don't really have a choice.
Exactly. That was annoying actually. When I first discovered that, I was like, why?
Yeah, I agree. I think pretty much everyone's on the same boat of that. It was super annoying. However, it did become whatever, not ideal, but like I got used to it. Real quick though, I think the Joy-Cons, were intended mostly for play on the go and like to play certain types of games. I don't think they were actually intended to be the main controller you use. However, that's also not a good excuse in my opinion. Like especially for drift, because we talked about drift before. Like, and this was another big thing with the Lite is what if the Lite gets drift? Like they obviously have to fix the Joy-Con, like the sticks. And because like the radius is much smaller too. I noticed that a lot. Like my fiance's been playing Switch a lot lately because we got Spyro on Switch. And so that's what she's been playing. She likes it. But when you play Switch, especially if you're somebody who doesn't play video games regularly, like it's just the radius is so small, you end up smacking it all the time. Like I do it all the time too. You always end up smacking the walls with the with the joystick, and I'm sure that's what creates the drift. Like, so
I feel like the Joy-Cons just aren't the most resilient of controllers.
I agree. Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you. They're definitely the coolest controller in my opinion, like design wise.
Like I'm saying, it's novel. Like the Joy-Cons are novel.
But
the novelty hasn't worn off yet, but they need to work on the build quality for sure.
Right. Like this is how I'll put it. Like I love the Joy-Cons, right? But I've spent $160 on Joy-Cons technically because I have I have two sets, right? And then I have a Pro controller. But I spent $160 on my Elite controller, and my Elite controller has given me zero problems. My day one Joy-Cons I have to send in for drift, and my Joy-Cons now are coming up on 6 months old. So like if they get drift, it's gonna happen pretty soon,
Right.
And it's like, come on, man, just like make the Joy-Cons better. Anyways, we divulged, like completely got away from the topic at hand.
Yeah.
But I don't know, whatever. It's been a good episode, so I think we can end it there. Do you have anything you want to plug? I forgot to ask you ahead of the show.
Yeah, I mean, progress on Epic Squirrel, which is Tiger Studios 2D game project. It's been ongoing, so so yeah, definitely give me a follow on Twitter. It's at Belial, so BUHLYLE, and you can stay abreast of what's going on with the project there. Any kind of media items, screenshots, clips, etc. As soon as and when they become available, I post them up there, and I kind of keep everyone abreast of what's going on. I also share a lot of kind of indie dev content as well, so feel free to follow up and connect and get to know me some more on the Twitter sphere.
I think that's a good idea. I'm very excited for your squirrel game. It's coming to, is it coming to Switch? I think you had said that.
Yes,
okay.
That's the
that'll be cool.
That's the goal. Yeah, we're kind of pushing for Switch development primarily, and then try and branch into other mobile platforms, etc., and kind of move on from there.
But the people want to know, Billy, will it be on Vita?
Man, it'll be the one game that brings it back.
Don't get me wrong, people buy shit on Vita. Like for some reason, like they love shit. They will literally buy everything. It's awesome. They're super ravenous. But that was very clearly a joke. He has no plans at this time, I don't think, for Vita. So, but anyways, yeah, that's pretty much the show. It was a good one. I'm glad you were here. You can go to sleep now, so that's good. And we'll see you all next time, I guess.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Cheers, Mike.
All right. Goodbye, friends. We'll see you next time. I did a crappy job of doing an outro, so goodbye.
See ya.